So poor federal government employees, they're terrified of Trump coming in because they're afraid that he's going to force them to work on the basis of political beliefs. So they may just quit ahead of time. Tragic. There's lots of different things happening right now. We have Donald Trump's new appointees and his new policy goals are causing quite the uproar among the establishment. You had Morning Joe Scarborough and Mika actually went and met with Donald Trump, causing backlash from the left, but also making me question Trump's sanity. You have Joe Biden authorizes the use of United States arms to strike inside of Russia. Seems somewhat reckless to me. Trump claims that he could use the military to deport illegal immigrants after calling it a national emergency. He would be able to use it. We have Mitch McConnell, the ultimate establishment Republican, trying to get in the way of Trump doing his job again. And we have media companies failing all over the place. You got the AP is forced to cut staff by 8% due to the lack of interest from other news outlets. You have and also you have all these liberals that have left X to go to Blue Sky because Blue Sky is this great place. Well, guess what they're doing at Blue Sky? They're flooding it with requests for censorship. Shocking, I know. Those free speech, those pro-free speech Democrats. So yeah, we got all kinds of stuff going on here tonight. So I wanted to really open it up with this story from let's see here. Where did I do with that story? Here we go. So this is the funny thing about the way media really knows how to propagandize people. This here is Exhibit A of it's part of a wider exhibit, but this would be just a good place to start. Is the story from The Hill. It says federal workers brace for Trump's overhaul of civil service. And what's funny is if you actually look at the this right here up on the top bar, it says Donald Trump's plan to politicize federal workforce raised concerns. So according to publications like this and others talking about Trump's plans to, gut the government bureaucracy that leeches off the American people, they're claiming that Trump's just doing that so he can shove people in there that are loyal to him. He will then politicize the bureaucracy in the federal government, forcing people to do things against their will. It's better when the federal government, those people can't be fired at all, and they are basically immune to anything you try to do to them. So the story here from The Hill, let me pull it back up here for you. Where did it go? Hopefully everybody's doing good on this Monday. So the story here is President-elect Trump's plans to reshape the federal workforce would allow him to fire wide swaths of career employees and replace them with political appointees, a move that comes as he has demanded loyalty at every level of government. He says he will reissue an order, of course that just changed, released in the waning days of his first administration, that ends merit-based hiring for a number of federal jobs that work on policy, instead creating a new class of federal employees schedule app that could be hired and fired just like political appointees. It ends merit-based hiring? Yeah, because I'm sure the federal government is doing an awful lot of merit-based hiring. Now, according to these federal workers, this is just a way for Trump to insert politics into government actions. Imagine the government being politicized. I can't even fathom what that would be like. This could reward Trump's allies and politicize government decision-making. Like, is this serious? This is The Hill writing this. And you really wonder, who are they trying to sell this idea to? That somehow, right now, federal government is not politicized. So this, according to Jacqueline Simon, the policy director of the American Federation of Government Employees, I think there would probably be an exodus because federal employees just want to do their jobs. They want to do the job according to law and regulation. They don't want to be political appointees. They don't want politics to interfere with any aspect of their job. You're right. They don't really want anything to interfere with their job because they don't have to. Once you're in there, man, you're in that club. You are settled in and you are not going anywhere. Agencies across government are headed by political appointees tapped by the president, but the bulk of work is carried out by nonpartisan staffers hired for their expertise. This is such a lie. Like, this is just blatant, flat-out bullcrap. Trump allies have envisioned a massive expansion of the number of political positions, jumping roughly 4,000 from 4,000 currently to about 50,000. What? Political positions? There's like 2.2 million federal government employees. Of course, they pulled some stupid appointee from his first administration, and they're going to claim that guy says, well, Trump doesn't know what he's going to do. That's why I quit last time, because he's just stupid and evil. It's just like, dude, anybody that I see that was in his staff prior and they're talking about how terrible he is, it's like I automatically know they're full of crap. They're just doing this because they want to be part of the club. It's like this thing where everybody at your school likes to talk crap about this one person, and in order to fit in, you have to do that. That's what the cool kids do. That's exactly what's going on in this scenario. So this idea, I can't stand these people. Project 2025. Government has a career first mentality. Frustration with these activities by top career executives. Yeah, it's a problem, everybody. There's a real problem when it comes to the way the federal government operates. These people have incredible protections. They're basically untouchable. They work for the government, so this idea that Trump's going to get rid of merit-based hiring. Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole lot of that going on. And they're hired for their positions because they're the experts. This is all just crap. This is stuff that goes back to what this other, arm of government was designed to be. It's a progressive era policy where they said, dating back to Woodrow Wilson, where we're going to have this branch of government that it's made up of experts. And these experts are going to be able to, tell us exactly what we need to do and when to do it. And everybody else, us peasants and peons, we can just go on with our everyday lives. Now, it's incredibly laughable to say that, this is all about just expertise. I'm a historian. I have a PhD and a master's degree in history. It would probably be pretty hard for me to get a job as a government historian right now, because my research background doesn't focus on political bullcrap. I don't really meet the demographic of what they're looking for. Am I an expert? Well, I would think so. I would think that, 20 years of schooling I have in the study of history would dictate so, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You're going to make a political decision when hiring these people. And for them to pretend like the federal government is not ideologically captured politically is insane. Whatever you do for a living, imagine thinking that your job and the people you work with, they're just there to do the job, and they're not, let's not say that, because they probably are, but they're just there. And they have no biases whatsoever. They have no political positions whatsoever. Imagine in 2024 thinking somebody doesn't have a stance on politics. It's everything. It's everywhere. Pop culture is politics these days. Politics is pop culture. It has inundated everything we do. It goes into entertainment, sports. It goes into economics, business, investment. If you want to get any type of grants or loans, a lot of it's politically driven. If you want to get a grant to do historical research, you better be focusing on the stuff that politicians want you to focus on, i.e. woke stuff. If you don't believe me, go and look at what some of the bigger organizations in history are pushing people to focus on. So they're writing this article under the premise that you're either naive or stupid. You know, they think that we live in this world where people believe garbage like this. This idea that these people just want to go to work and do their jobs. They don't want to be involved in politics. They just want to do their jobs according to the rules and regulations. Yeah, that's because what else can you do in the federal government? Our government is so hyper-regulated, it's insane. And so the truth behind this is I've seen people going out saying, oh, Trump's going to slash 50,000 jobs or something like that in the federal government. You do realize that there are over 2 million federal government employees, and a huge chunk of those are just bureaucratic bloat. It's people that really don't need to be there. So 50,000 people is really not all that much. Remember when Biden just dumped over 80,000 IRS agents? That was to go after the billionaires, right? On us? Well, think about that. If you were to slash 50,000 jobs, that would still leave over 30,000 of those IRS agents to come after you for, that $10 cure royalty check that you didn't declare to the government. Now you owe them $50 that you don't have because you didn't report money you made to them. And so you owe them money because you didn't give them money that's not theirs. So now you owe them more money that's not theirs. Pepita is hanging in there with us still. Little baby Pepita. Purring like always. Aren't ya? She's a maniac. Starving to death all the time, she's always screaming at me, wanting food all the time, aren't ya? You think you're starving to death all the time. If I fed you as much as you think you should be fed, you'd be one plump little kitten. So anyways, I go on here. So first, just this idea that there's no political ideology inundating these government jobs is preposterous. And the whole of government, the federal government, the military, education, and onward, it's been captured by the left. Ideologically, that those things are all leftist institutions at this point. They push a lot of their politically correct agenda down on their employees. And I'm sure that during the that pandemic there, when everybody that was a federal government employee was required to get the medical treatment, I'm sure there were plenty of people that said no thanks and left their jobs. So this idea now that somehow these people are going to be freaking out and they're going to quit their jobs because they don't want to enter a politically driven environment. It's like, oh, interesting. It's interesting how you're going to leave your job without being fired or being told to leave because you don't want to work in a politically driven environment, but you're leaving on the basis of politics. Because if you were truly an unbiased person, then why would you care? Why would you care who was in office? I don't understand how you can even come off with this premise that you hire people that are completely neutral when it comes to politics. People that are going to apply to work for the government are probably very rarely neutral when it comes to politics. And there's no way you can prove that one way or the other. Oh, are you? Where do you stand politically? Oh, I'm neutral. At least that's what my friend who got the other job in government told me to say when I sat down here. But I would never lie about something like that to get this cushy 6-figure a year job, where I don't do a whole lot of anything. So when delving into this topic, I think it's funny how they're pushing this premise too, that they just want to be left alone to do their jobs. So many of these people have been pumped into the field because it's been a nice, convenient way for certain presidential administrations to ramp up the number of jobs coming out every month. Obama did it. Biden did it. In fact, Biden was always bragging about those job reports where they created all these new jobs. Well, most of those jobs were actually just government jobs. That's a very convenient way to pump up numbers. Look at what I can do. I have look at all these jobs we created. Literally, you can create them, but they're not bringing any value to the table. They are not actually benefiting Americans in any way. It's costing them money, and it will cost them more money in the long run. So the average federal worker makes $91,000 a year. And in 2023 alone, the federal workforce cost about $300 billion. I was looking at all these statistics too. These people get insane benefits packages. Get good retirement benefits, good pensions. And listen, if you are actually doing something of value in the government, I'm a libertarian, so I don't feel like these jobs should really exist in the first place unless it's very, I guess I'm more of a minarchist. So yes, there are some jobs that maybe should be there, but we don't need regulatory agencies that regulate regulatory agencies, right? So many of these jobs, there's no value being brought to the table, and that's money that should just be slashed right there. We have no business paying for that kind of stuff. And there are, you move up, there's like a grading system or a rating system in government where you can bump up to some pretty high salaries, and you're kind of just locked in for life. So they're pushing this idea in the article that, it's a merit-based system. What? There's no, maybe if you meet a bare minimum qualification or something, but there are probably, during the Biden administration and the Obama administration, I'm sure merit was a really big deal. So the problem with a lot of what's going on in our federal government too is there are agencies where their duties overlap with other agencies. And then you have, you not only have that, but you have also other agencies that their duties are just direct duplications of the duties for multiple agencies. Then, on the other hand, you have some agencies that are forced to take on this great responsibility with very little resources. I know it's hard to imagine, but the way the federal government does things is not very efficient. And inefficiency breeds discontent from the American people. And what happens with the American people what happens when they're upset about this? Oh, nothing. You're right, because you can't do anything about it. This is a major issue when it comes to these jobs like this. Is there's no real incentive for you to do a good job. You can throw somebody up in a supervisory role, pay them a bunch of money, but they're not going to be incentivized to do a better job. They're not going to be incentivized to make sure there's a return on the American people's investment. All that stuff is irrelevant in this system, because who cares? If you don't, the way the free market works is if you do a good job, you will have more customers. You will get promotions. You will be able to afford to hire better employees. Like, that's the way that works. But when you're just guaranteed your paycheck no matter what, guaranteed the government's going to fork over the money no matter what, there's no real merit there. I know people will probably freak out to a degree. There's people on here that are like saying like, no, we need experts in these fields, or people are going to lose their jobs. When almost half of these jobs are just, they're literally jobs where you're regulating other regulators. There is HR for HR departments. We don't need this stuff. We don't need people to sit there and oversee what other regulators are doing. That is just ramping up job numbers. That is just putting people in office that are, guess what? They're loyal. And to claim that the hiring process will not, utilize political appointees is a joke. And there's this thing going around a lot with the Trump stuff where he just wants loyalty. He wants well, yeah. He just got a mandate from the American people. There were a lot of people pushing him to do something in the last time he was president. Everybody and their brother tried to stop him from doing what he could do. Anybody that was an establishment figure fought back. So, yes, wanting loyalty, sure. But I'm not going to sit here and think that these new appointees to government jobs are there for political loyalty to him or not. Because in a couple of years, when he's no longer in office, let's say after he gets in office, let's say in a couple of years, he guts these jobs and appoints new ones, he'll be out of office. You can then fire the loyal bureaucrats. So this idea, it just doesn't really hold water. This idea that, those permanently have people in there loyal to Trump for eternity. Well, you can, if he can fire them, so can you. You don't want them to be fireable because this benefits you guys greatly. This benefits the establishment because these people literally are establishment. They make laws that they're not supposed to be able to make. I mean, these agencies, the regulations in this country are absurd. It makes it impossible to do business in so many fields. I used to work in pet supplies forever. I was managing pet stores, pet food stuff, and I was managing where the food we sold was more akin to what a high-end pet nutritionist would recommend. So good quality stuff, not full of junk, raw food, things like that. But these companies, the regulations are insane. You don't make any money doing it. You do it. It's a labor of love. If you want to own a raw pet food company, that's a labor of love because the government hates your guts. They love processed, crappy pet food like Science Diet, Purina, and Royal Canin. They love that stuff that's filled with corn, wheat, soy, artificial vitamins, synthetic junk. But if you want to feed your dog ground up organs and bone and meat, well, that's a problem. So they're going to try to shut you down. But don't worry, everybody. Science Diet is scientifically studied. So that means something. When they're the only company that could have afforded to do that, really, next to Purina and some of these bigger ones. And these studies were done a million years ago. If you think that corn and wheat and carbs and stuff are good for your pet, then I don't know what else to tell you. But think that. And so you can see that's the kind of thing, though, where regulations favor the crappy pet food companies, but they want to go down on the companies that want to feed your dog and cat natural ingredients. So you're telling me there's no political loyalties involved in this at all? There's no loyalties to these bigger companies, bigger corporations? It's a ridiculous. This whole, I don't think these articles, it's just the wording, the language, the propaganda. It's insane. And the funniest term in this is they're civil servants. Yes, that's what they are. They are civil servants who get paid significantly more than most Americans do. They're servants to us, though. Sure, they totally do things to the betterment of the American people, and we have a say in the things that they do because they are our civil servants. Okay, what a joke. All right. Check out my article that's in the link below if you want to read more about this. I did, Trump at one point did put up a video in 2022 talking about what he's doing this stuff for, and it's because he wants to fire rogue bureaucrats and corrupt bureaucrats. People that work, averse to the interests of the American people and work to only benefit their establishment party, their establishment political friends. That seems like a very reasonable, sane thing to me. But no, he's going after civil servants. Those civil servants. All right. Let me pull this up here. Where did it go? Sorry, everybody. I am zoning out right now. It's been a very, very hectic last couple of weeks. Have not been able to sleep. Been going, and I am feeling it. All right, so Trump met with Morning Joe Scarborough. This is an article from myself. And Mika Brzezinski, and vows to give the media a second chance, even though this should be like the media's 500th chance. So Joe Scarborough and Brzezinski went to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump, and things were somewhat productive. And then they got to voice all their concerns about how Trump is terrible and evil and all this other stuff. And Trump claims that he was grateful for the talk and that lots of things will come from this. Things can finally change. I don't know how to feel about this story. Because, first of all, Trump promises that he learned his lesson the last time he was in office. And he seems to be doing a good job with that, with his appointments and things of that nature. But you're going to give this media another chance? Why? He said a bunch of stuff. We can't have a free and fair country without this media. Yeah, you're right. That's an actual media that holds government accountable, which is now independent media. They're the only ones holding government accountable. Like, you're talking about the very same media that probably pushed somebody to try to take your life. You're talking about the very same media who, after someone did try to take your life, they claimed you faked it and you brought it upon yourself. Okay? You almost died. And that's what they said. This is the very same media who has called your supporters domestic extremists and fascists and Nazis and racists and all this other stuff. This is the same media that has divided this country down, trying to pit one half against the other. Okay, that media that has lied about everything you do. That media has lied about you calling white supremacists very fine people, you calling dead American war heroes suckers and losers, you tear gassing people during a George Floyd protest because you wanted to go a photo op in front of a church. I mean, you name it. Any scandal that ended up being fake, which is most of them. It's really all of them, all the major ones. The same media that, remember, called that said just before the election that you want generals just like Hitler had. They've called you basically Hitler. I've seen Mary Trump, which I'm assuming is somebody related to him, said that the Madison Square Garden rally that Trump had was actually worse than the Nazi rally that happened in the 1930s. I've seen people say that Trump is worse than Hitler in a lot of ways. Thank you, media, for doing that. So you go ahead, Trump, give him another chance. I want these media companies to flounder and disappear off the face of the earth. Like, you deserve what you wrought upon yourself. Or just clean house, hire new people, and rebuild the brand as somewhat truthful, objective. Any of these things would be nice, but you're not going to do that. You're going to continue to pay worthless people millions of dollars. CNN's going to continue to pay Anderson Cooper $20 million a year for his, tens of thousands of people that watch him. Those days are over. Those days of people piling on to watch CNN and these great journalists like Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer and I don't even know any of these people anymore. What's her name? Burnett, Erin Burnett, something like that. These people, you're gonna, people don't sit with their family around the TV to watch that crap now. Now they sit around the TV to watch Tim Pool, Jimmy Dore. I mean, watching Joe Rogan with your family may be a little iffy. These they're going to watch, even if you watch Just the News, or you watch America First Report, or you watch On the Fringe, or you watch these, like, there's so many other news sources out there. You don't need to watch crap like CNN and MSNBC. They did that to themselves. So Trump is going to give them another chance. That's one problem. Second problem with this whole thing is who you're giving another chance to. Now, this is not an olive branch coming from the media itself. Those people will always despise Trump because Trump represents everything they hate. He represents you and I, normal Americans, and he is an anti-establishment figure. The media is the propaganda arm of that. But Morning Joe Scarborough specifically has probably said some of the most heinous things about Trump and his supporters. This is a guy that was central in pushing the premise that Trump is a Nazi, he's a fascist, pushing the premise that his supporters are fascists, racists, that he's a threat to democracy, that he's super dangerous. And immediately after Trump took a bullet to the head, this clown, Joe Scarborough, was pushing more crap about how he's a dangerous, threat to our democracy. I'm sure that was messaging that was ordered from the top down at MSNBC. We got to win this election for our candidate. Go back out there and tell everybody that he's the greatest threat to democracy. They go to Mar-a-Lago and they sit down and talk about their concerns. He's going to mass deport people and he's going to do this. And who gives a rat's ass what Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski want? Sorry, you all had your shot. That's what pisses me off about everything going on right now. All the detractors. I'm so tired of seeing experts bitching and moaning about the people Trump has picked. They're dangerous. They're evil. They're threats. They're morally repugnant people. Shut up. Nobody cares, dude. If people cared what they have to say, they would have been elected. Kamala would have been elected. If what they said still mattered, their candidate would have won. But it doesn't matter. So when I see John Bolton talking about how dangerous it is to pick people like Tulsi Gabbard and Matt Gaetz. It's like, dude, you've had your shot for so long. You are still in some type of position of influence. And we are here right now at this inflection point of everything is terrible, so terrible that we outright rejected everything you all stood for because you all are terrible at everything. So you kind of lost your right to give advice and be the expert because your expertise has destroyed this country and screwed us over royally. That is how I feel about the media. That is how I feel about Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. I don't really care what you have to say. I have watched enough trash come out of your mouth to the point where if I hear something come out of their network, I assume it's just fake. It's just a lie. It's just bullcrap. They did that. The Trump presidency prior, and then the election cycle, and COVID and all this stuff just started a downward spiral where they couldn't help but just continue to destroy their own credibility over and over and over again. You want people to buy into it again. I'm going to go talk to Trump. Dude, this is going to last 5 seconds. Joe Scarborough definitely seems like somebody who is of a bygone political era. He was a congressman or something, a Republican congressman, I believe. Let me just look that up. Pretty sure that's what he did before. Let's see. Joe Scarborough, yep. A member of the U.S. House of Representatives, Florida's 1st District. Isn't that what Matt Gaetz just was? Yeah. Wow. When was this clown? Let's see. Jeff Miller. Matt Gaetz. Wow. This is quite the picture of Joe Scarborough here. Let me show you on Propaganda Are Us, called that's Wikipedia. Look at this picture of Joe Scarborough right here. He's a Republican, dating back to the tail end of the Bush presidency, HW, and he's in office until he resigned. So 2001, so right before 9/11. But he's a Republican. He's an establishment figure. He is a product of a bygone era, back when people still thought that our political leadership, they were the experts, and the bureaucrats were the experts, and they entrusted them to make the right decisions and to actually try to fix this country, and try to do the things that, to give hope and joy and vibes and whatever crap. Those days are so far over. They're beyond over. And I think that's the thing about this, is it's just like, why are you meeting with them? I understand that, there should be some civility of him toward the media. But that's if they're willing to reciprocate that, and they're not going to. And you're going to give another chance to this pair of people. This is one thing I guess I got to give it to them. They are saying that Trump won for a reason. He is the popular vote getter as well. So maybe that we should try to understand this, so we can understand what the American people want. But it's like the American people have already shown you what they want when they've rejected your crap network and your crap show. And nobody watches your garbage anymore. So I don't really know what he stands to gain. Sorry, heard noises outside, freaks me out this time of night. I don't really know what he stands to gain by rekindling this supposed relationship. I think it's because he wants to be liked by the media. He desperately wants to be liked by the media. We saw this problem when he was president the last time, where he would just try to give in to whatever like the deep state and the left and everybody wanted. Because once upon a time, he was a beloved figure in all circles, including the left. He was friends with Whoopi Goldberg and friends with Oprah Winfrey and friends with Howard Stern. He was at, celebrity parties, and he was at celebrity weddings. And this is a guy that was once a rock star. And I think that he just wants to be accepted by them. I don't understand the point of this, because this is, you're trying to rekindle a relationship with a dying brand that is MSNBC. CNN is also a dying brand. It's a joke. It's a complete joke. So, yeah. I just hope that Trump really learned his lesson, and we're not going back down this road of, oh, I'm just going to trust these people one more time, because these people don't care for you. They don't like you. They want you, they do not want you in office. Okay, their candidate lost. All right, next up on my docket here. So Joe Biden has allowed or approved, another article here by myself, authorizes the use of U.S. arms to strike inside of Russia. Just a few weeks after the election, Biden gave a thumbs up for Ukrainian use of American arms. So Ukrainian President Zelensky said just one day after the election that Trump's victory could ensure a quicker end to the war with Ukraine. Now, just weeks after that statement, things might escalate between Russia and Ukraine. Now, this was according to Reuters. This may help Ukraine come negotiation time, but people within the Kremlin have warned that this will be seen as a major escalation, and it could spark World War III. Words right from the mouth of the Russians. Now, please, can somebody tell me what is happening here? Is this something to actually force Putin to sit down at the negotiating table? Because it seemed like when Trump got elected, things could move in that direction. I guess, what's the end goal of this whole conflict? I know what the end goal is for Putin and Ukraine. Ukraine wants to completely expel Russian forces from their former territories, and Putin wants to completely reclaim the territories he thinks are his, or, at least make that buffer zone between NATO and him. Both sides cannot get what they want in this conflict. So then you have to ask yourself, who's going to hold out the longest in this conflict? I'm going to put my money on Russia. Oh, he's a Russian agent. He loves Putin. Yep, that's what it is. Listen, I don't really know much about the guy. I am of the belief that this is not just because he's a maniac and invaded this country because he just has his sights on rebuilding the Soviet Union and conquering Europe. Okay, there's just no proof of that. I think that there's a lot to this. I think this has a lot to do with what we did with NATO, kind of pressing buttons, pushing things up onto his, up in his neck of the woods. I just think this was very blatant. This was a very blatant push to try to stir up a problem. And I'm talking about from NATO and the United States. There was definitely something here. They knew this was going to spark some type of conflict. Drink some coffee here. I went hunting the last 4 days. And I can't sleep the night before hunting, so I've been getting up at 3 a.m, going out, sitting there. And yesterday morning, I shoot at a deer. I swear I hit it, couldn't find it. So hopefully it's not wounded. I didn't see any blood anywhere. So I'm going to assume it's off living its nice deer life. But if I seem like I'm kind of like an exhausted blob, it's because of that. So I'm chugging my blackout coffee, and it's doing wonders. So with both sides having their aim set on their desired outcome, this war will just go on forever unless something comes to an end. I'm going to guess that Putin is going to want guarantees that Ukraine will not join NATO. They're probably going to want guarantees that they can retain some of the territories they've taken, and that going forward there will not be more of a push to press upon his borders. Ukraine may want all of their territories back. I don't know how this is possible, but I can tell you what. I'm a military historian. The only thing that's tough about this conflict is that we're not really getting accurate news out of it. It's always wishy-washy, always a mixed bag. It seems heavily propagandized on both sides. The U.S. forever was saying, oh, Ukraine's winning. They're winning. And it's like, well, they launch a major offensive in June of 23, and it does nothing. It's a failure. It's this war, based off my judgment, is far more akin to World War I than anything else. It has become a defensive war of attrition. It is a slog, and it is incredibly costly. It is the result of massive casualties. People are dying every day needlessly, and both sides are just kind of stuck in place. So what's the end goal? Because this just can't go on forever. You can't just have this war of attrition going on forever. And then you get to this point now to say, okay, Trump's elected, maybe things can kind of simmer down. We can finally end this conflict. But Joe Biden's administration decides to say, no, hey, you can strike into Russia using American arms now. Now, Putin has kind of given off vibes that he'd be willing to use nuclear weapons in certain scenarios. This is the country that has the largest nuclear arsenal in the world. In case you're not familiar, during the Cold War, the massive buildup of armaments between the United States and the Soviet Union left the Soviet Union with a massive stockpile of nuclear weapons that people are afraid Putin may be willing to use. So if he's cornered and he's having people launching strikes into his country, I just am afraid things could get out of hand. But sorry if that's going to come across like I'm pro-Putin or something. It's not at all. I'm just saying I want this to end. If it doesn't end, it feels like it's going to go on for eternity. And this move by the Biden administration seems very reckless and very stupid. I don't really see the point. There's no point to this. Unless you are directly trying to escalate something, or you have some inside intel that this will actually push Putin into coming to the negotiating table. But he has a lot of nukes, and his stuff is on the continent. Our stuff is not. So if Putin were to use a nuke against Ukraine or something in that area, what would happen then? The U.S. would retaliate in some way? Either way, this is a really, really, really dumb move, in my opinion. Unless, I guess what is Russia going to launch a major offensive or something? That could be it, hypothetically. I just doubt it. This just seems like something that the Biden administration has been very privy to, which is escalating this thing. And there was a point where negotiations were bound to happen, and Boris Johnson from the UK shows up and tells the Ukrainians not to negotiate. There's a lot of mixed news when it comes to that whole story. I've heard some say that at the time, it would not have been advantageous for Ukraine to come to a settlement at all. Especially at that time, Ukraine was looking like they were going to fare much better than they have. But that's not what happened. So we have come to this juncture now where, it's time for this thing to end. It's time for us to stop giving money to this war. It's time for people to stop dying. It's time for it all to be over. And I'm afraid that this is a very, very, very serious risk to take right now. So that's my thought on that. Now, I got a few more stories here that I did want to talk about. This doesn't really interest me. I know it sounds terrible, but the story that Trump claims he could use the U.S. military to force deportations after calling it a national emergency, it was major news. I just don't really care, and I do think that this is probably just more bark than bite. Trump says things like this, and rarely would he follow through with them, or does he intend to. I think a lot of this is just like, he's getting a lot of pushback from people, especially in these liberal states and liberal cities that want to do the sanctuary city and state thing. They are pushing back against his deportations. And it's like, well, the American people voted for better immigration reform. And I think that he's just trying to push this extreme level of policy. But I just don't really care all that much about this. I would like for the border to be closed and immigration to end, but as far as I'm concerned, like, my big concerns in the world right now are like censorship, and attacks on free speech, and attacks on my rights to defend myself. That stuff is what really matters to me. I don't like, I think that Kamala Harris losing is a huge win for the anti-censorship push. I think that's a major win, because I could have seen her administration coming in with some hate speech laws or some mis and disinformation laws of some kind and trying to shut the conversation down. I do think we're very, very lucky that there's a push for more combating of censorship under the upcoming Trump administration as of right now. So, Mitch McConnell, once again, tries to get in the way. He says there will be no recess appointments. Sorry. How does he turn? There will be no recess appointments. Unfortunately, there's not much that Mitch McConnell can do about recess appointments. They are very much constitutional. There is an article in the newsletter linked below if you want to check this out. It's simply titled "Recess Appointments Are Constitutional," and it is an article from The Hill itself, the same publication that just, I just read minutes ago was pushing other propaganda, but they are indeed constitutional. But this is the problem with the Republican Party. The American people give you a mandate. That's the first thing. Then, they give you a mandate for Trump's policies. And They want Republican policies in place. And what that mandate represents is a complete and total rejection of the establishment, the deep state, the military-industrial complex, all of it. That's what this was. This was a blatant rejection of all of the above. Sorry about that. Oh man, hot. So, but then you got this guy, Mitch McConnell, trying to hinder this again. He did this last time. He was pro-Trump in 2020 when it helped him get elected, but immediately turned on him. These old establishment Republicans are the worst. They're the problem. They are most definitely anti-Trump, and they're going to continue to be. Mitch McConnell is not going to change. I know he's stepping down from House Speaker, but not House Speaker, the Republican Majority Leader or whatever. He's stepping down from that role, but he will continue to be a senator until 2027. But thank God, maybe he'll finally be tossed to the wayside. But we're looking at a potential here of him getting in the way again. And it's like, man, these Republicans suck. They do not want success. They don't care about having a majority. They don't care about having the trifecta. They care about none of that. All they care about is protecting the establishment. And this guy is Exhibit A. I really want to know how he gets elected. Like, who votes for Mitch McConnell? I would love to know. Have you voted for him? Maybe you voted for him when you didn't realize what he was. He is a hindrance and a huge problem. All right. There's so many stories here. Department of Justice is forcing Google to sell off Chrome browser to break up the search engine giant's monopoly. This is part of that antitrust stuff going around. Apparently it's tied into Google's monopoly, not only on search, but also their control over Android phones is a huge problem. So they are breaking them up. Hopefully Google will stop censoring the crap out of people on YouTube, myself included. I'm not even kidding. I had views on videos that just disappeared. It was like, oh, you got some views on this video? Oh, just kidding. Down to 0. It's unbelievable. The AP is slashing staff by 8% due to a lack of interest from news outlets, thus proving that old school media is out the door. And that's a good thing. The AP does cover world news for the most part, but it's just there's no interest in it from other news outlets. The Guardian. This was an article I wanted to show you before I log off here and sack out. I'm going to pull it up on Brave here. All right, this will probably be the last story I cover tonight. I wanted to do a little bit more, but I'm running out of time here. I'm already an hour in. Whoop, where did I go? Okay. Let me exit out of this garbage. This is a publication that is so insanely pro-left. If you saw my podcast on Wednesday or read my newsletter, the Guardian left X. They're going to Blue Sky, which I got a story about Blue Sky too. But this is oh, this is not the right article. Where did it go? Here we go. Let me pull this one up first. Wrong article. Come up here. Oh my goodness. Little kitten. Little yelling kitten. All right, Trump sues for billions from media he says is biased against him. Just read, you don't have to read this whole thing. This is from Maya Yang. Read the first paragraph. With only 2 months left until Donald Trump returns to the White House, the president-elect and convicted felon has been waging lawfare by a flurry of lawsuits against media companies and publishers that have been critical of him. The lawsuits have come amid growing fears of what a second Trump term would mean for press freedom, as Trump intensifies his long-standing hostility against the media and what he called the enemy camp in his victory speech last week. Read your own article. Hostility against the media? First of all, you followed Donald Trump with the president-elect and convicted felon. But then you follow that up with has been waging lawfare. Why is Trump a convicted felon? Oh, I know, because of government lawfare. Him suing the New York Times is not lawfare. That is defamation, because they lie out their ass about him, just like most publications do, just like The Guardian does. How 100% of corporate news outlets that are anti-conservative have not been sued to oblivion. I don't understand how it's possible, because there are so many things they have just intentionally ruined public opinion about through blatant lies. So this is, I just thought that the paragraph was really amazing that it started off that way. But yes, Trump is actually suing the New York Times for billions because of defamation, as he should. And they say, well, it's because Trump's suing people that are critical of him. That has nothing to do with anything. There are plenty of news outlets out there that were insinuating that he faked his assassination attempt. There were ones saying that he didn't actually get shot by a bullet, like just irrelevant crap, and that he brought it upon himself. Despicable stuff. Well, The Guardian, that left X because they don't like free speech. They had look at this. A flurry of controversial and extremist picks for Trump's administration has provoked criticism and made heads spin. There was one statement here that was the choices include for Trump's staff is a Fox News host, a tech billionaire, an anti-vaccine activist, and an alleged apologist for Russia's Vladimir Putin, and a congressman once embroiled in a sex trafficking investigation. Yep, because that Matt Gaetz thing is totally legit. And this, I just thought this was so funny. The statement about an apologist for Russia's Vladimir Putin. So the whole thing with Tulsi Gabbard, for why they claim she's a Russian apologist or whatever, is because she didn't think that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was wholly unprovoked. And it didn't seem worthwhile to push things to a point of no return when it came to the war in Russia, or war in Ukraine. That is all she said. That's everything she said. That makes her a Russian apologist. And I've seen articles, like constant articles about her about her perceived Russian sympathies and all this crap. And it's like these people they're just so full of crap. So if you want to enjoy some good propaganda there, go ahead and check it out on the newsletter. Link below, or check it out on the website, historyonaWhim.com/join or die, all one word. I am going to sign off and get my butt to bed. But hey, before I do, can you please tell Pepita, remember Pepita? Somebody said, Pepita, I don't want you anymore, and they threw her out of a car, and she's the sweetest thing ever. She's purring, aren't you? Little food obsessed. So Pepita needs you to show that you love her by giving me a like and a subscribe and commenting and checking out my website and my newsletter and doing all the fun things. That's all I ask. So I will be back Wednesday with more fun stuff. I'm sorry if I look like I'm about to drop dead. I'm exhausted. It's been a very long week. So had to get this out though. Wanted to touch base and throw some news out there. So in the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, comment. Follow me on X, Join or Die News. All one word. Link below. And I will be back with you Wednesday night. Good night.